In a sign that prosecutors apparently believe that Donald Trump did have criminal intent and violated the law when it comes to all the documents and that sort of thing, they're apparently pushing for a piercing of the legal defense that he's been using, which is effectively attorney-client privilege between Donald Trump and his lawyers. They've apparently sought approval from a federal judge to invoke what is known as the crime fraud exception, which allows them to work around attorney-client privilege when they have reason to believe that legal advice or legal services have been used in furthering a crime. So that's specifically what we know. And now we get into the area of speculation, trying to understand what they might mean by that, what sort of crime or fraud they're implying they have evidence of in requesting this. So here's a speculation for you. Among the questions that the Justice Department has been examining since last year is whether Mr. Trump or his associates obstructed justice in failing to comply with demands to return a trove of government material he took with him from the White House upon leaving office, including hundreds of documents with classified markings. Now, to a regular person, the fact that he had the documents and knew that he had the documents and was asked to turn them in and didn't seems obviously to be obstructing justice. But that's another one of the fun things where elites hypothesize about it. Is that what he was truly doing? I mean, I know literally that's what he's doing intentionally, repeatedly for months and months and months. That's what he's doing. But like, what about metaphysically? Anyway, one of his lawyers, Mr. Corcoran, recently appeared before a grand jury in federal district court in Washington and is believed to have asserted attorney-client privilege on behalf of Mr. Trump in refusing to answer certain questions related to his representation in the documents investigation. Now, we don't know the content of the questions that he refused to answer. We don't know at this point if that is specifically what led to this crime fraud exemption being brought up. We don't know if the Justice Department suspects misconduct by Mr. Corcoran, by other lawyers, by Trump, by both, by all, by hook, by crook. I don't know. There's a lot that we don't know, but this supposedly, according to legal analysts, is not the sort of move that you would make as just a random shot in the dark, or if you didn't believe that you had good evidence of a crime having been committed. So Jayar, what do you think?
This is the section of the show, I guess, where people just kind of roll around and get away with things. We talked about Matt Gaetz a minute ago, but this investigation going into everything that's happening with Trump and his classified information. I mean, I guess they'll try this workaround, but this is a playbook that we've heard from many times. Trump gives his playbook all the time with his tax evasion to criminal investigation evasion to then he always talks about his attorney-client privilege. So yeah, it's the same playbook over and over and over again. He's a veteran in trying to avoid any kind of responsibility for the things that he's done throughout his life, not just politically. So this just goes along with that same playbook. And I don't know whether or not these things will work, but I guess the attempts to do so means something. But is there a fear that he's got something on, folks? I'm still trying to figure out where this I guess kowtowing to the biggest potential criminals in our political system comes from, folks. What are they afraid of? What's going on? Look, Matt Weiner, not Matt Weiner. What was his name? Hillary's, but Anthony Weiner went down hard, and no one really was concerned about any political power he had. Maybe because the backing of folks that were around him were like, "Yo, let him go." I don't know what kind of structure has to be around certain politicians and certain political figures for them to just survive this type of stuff, but. This is, we're seeing the playbook play out right in front of us. I'm not sure if it's gonna help much.
Donald will ultimately be held accountable for this Stormy Daniels payment.
Well, that is a bold prediction from Michael Cohen. Of course, Michael Cohen, while he has to some extent tried to move slightly closer to the light once again since leaving the service of Donald Trump, has a history, and you can think of him whatever you want. He believes that this hush money payments investigation, which we're gonna give you the details on, is perhaps one of the greatest threats to Trump going forward. Here is him making the case.
Is the most detrimental to him, his freedom, his livelihood, his business, etc. Because it's the easiest to prove. The checks are the checks. We know a lot. There's recordings which had been released in the past. This is an easy one, unlike some of the other cases, like the Fannie Willis case in Georgia. Well, he will just come out and lie, which is what he does with impunity, and say, I truly thought that there was 17,861 votes stolen from me, so that attacks the credibility. In this specific case, the first 3-month payment was made by Donald Trump, and I gave those to the House Oversight Committee, who posted them, and so on. And so he's not in the same position where he can deny or lie the way that he will in some of the other matters.
So again, think whatever you will, and I think there's a lot of thoughts to be had about Michael Cohen, but I think he makes a good case acknowledging the ridiculous status quo of legal accountability that we exist in. So let me just say, Elise, I am sick of this game, and the game is, it's irrelevant if you did the thing. Even if we know that you did the thing, that's irrelevant. We're setting that aside. But like, can you prove the state of mind and like motivation? And did he know? Like, no actual person believes that he thought that he legitimately had those specific number of votes stolen from him. It's BS. Or like, well, what was his motivation for stealing all the classified documents? I know that he was told for 18 months that he had to give them back, and he kept refusing to give them back. But like, what was his state of mind and his emotional state? Like, I think that Michael Cohen is accurate to say that is the battleground that these things are fought on. I just hate that if you did the crime, you should pay the penalty. It seems like that's how it should work.
Yeah, but did you do it? And if we can prove that you did it, let's move on from there. And we can, speculate all we want, and that can be fun. But goodness, crime after crime after crime he has done. I think at this point, we can just assume it's selfishness and just move on to charges.